this morning, there's a continuing process that the Navy is hosting on their Section 106, the historic impacts of historic properties that is mandated through their EIS process, and they have been made some suggestions about possible mitigation for what they determined in their document as indirect impacts to EB's reserve. So had a couple of meetings about trying to identify what that might look like across the reserve, and it'll be a topic of discussion at tonight's trust board meeting. Mostly the concept that's been being discussed is which historic properties, like the Ferry House or the Wharf or other historic properties that are publicly owned within the reserve would be logical investments for the mitigation that the Navy is required to provide. So,
what are they mitigating against? Noise?
In the Navy's EIS, they whenever there's a project that has a historic impact on historic properties, they're required to go through the Section 106 process. So it's not unlike when the state Department of Transportation rerouted Parker Road, there was a Section 106 process there. So the Navy had identified the indirect impacts and the view sheds and the it's actually specifically not noise.
So it's the site of airplanes that are the impact? I'm trying to understand what people think the impact is.
So it's the Navy's description of the impact, and I can share the document that they created. No one is reinventing their definition of what the indirect impact is. The Navy defines that.
Well, there is a group that's been meeting that's made up of primarily you're the representative from the county. Then there are other representatives of the group, which includes EB's Reserve, Corps, and that's the group that's been meeting to talk about these different issues. What I'm trying to understand is what we think needs to be mitigated, even from their perspective. Is it the fact that we see more airplanes in the air? Is it the fact that we hear more airplanes in the air?
So the Navy defined the indirect impacted area and they are hosting the event and the conversations that the State Historic Preservation Office is also a part of. And
EB's requested this process from the state.
Actually, it's a requirement of any EIS process.
If we go back 6 years ago, it will show that EB's requested it through SHPA. That's how it started up.
So in any action that the Navy takes, or any federal agency, if they if they determine in their environmental impact statement that they have a indirect or a direct impact, that is documented and defined through the process, and then there's a mitigation process that's totally defined through the federal government that includes the creation of a memorandum of understanding or agreement, and there's a formal process for comment. And I have, when I've been able to, I've phoned in or attended the meetings, but I haven't not. They usually schedule them on Tuesday mornings during our regular business meetings. So I have not been able to attend all of them, though I have been in the email loop, and we all were invited to participate in that.
I understand we were all invited, but only one of us can be the county lead, and I was told that you said it was your district, then you would be the county lead. So, I appreciate that it's coming from the Navy. What I'm trying to understand as a community member and an elected leader is what the impact is that needs to be mitigated. Is it a visual impact? Is it, and I'll go back and read the document, but it is just, we don't make people who buy 2 cars mitigate because they've changed the visual impact of transportation on the road in the reserve.
So this is actually...
I understand the federal process, and I'm also trying to point out the fact that there has been local pressure for the Navy to go through an extensive process on this rather than just the normal process that they go through, combined up with a group of people that they've been meeting with that do not represent a broad, diverse portion of the community. And it's lovely that they have been this generous of their time But it has not been what I would consider one of our better processes from a community
Well,
side of
I
it.
think the community would agree. There have not been any public meetings, as are usually required under a Section 106, to gain a broader impact. The Navy has crafted this as a phone-in conference for the last several opportunities, and so I would agree with you. I think a broader community conversation around it would have been very helpful, but that isn't the process that the Navy chose to take.
Because I think the other people in this community, other than CORE, would have liked to have been at the table.
Well, I think there's a number of other entities that are participating, and I just wanted to, I'm interested in, I don't want to speak for the Navy, and I don't want to misquote their document, so I'd be happy to get copies and highlight the part where it's actually clearly defined. There are specific areas that they have highlighted around view sheds and corridors and certain impacts of they define their area of potential impact. And so I don't want to belabor that, but they are looking for input from the commenters about where we might best use that mitigation. There are a number of county facilities that might benefit from, for instance, the blockhouses that we maintain or other ideas. Just wanted to let you know that I want to be representative of this county. So, all right. I'm going to move forward if there aren't any other comments.